it sounds weird, but I almost learnt not to look in the mirror. You're surrounded also by people who, in your eyes, are just like beautiful and like just look perfect all the time, and then yours. And I mean, it's only how you feel, right? But it's how I felt. I just felt just disgusting all the time. No matter how much makeup I put on, no matter how nice my hair was or my outfit, it's all you can think about all the time.
I guess it just comes down to a basic thing of think before you speak and have real empathy. Is someone going to like you saying to them, what's wrong with your face or what's happened to you? Like, let's think about that for a second.
I remember I went on holiday with my boyfriend when it was really, really bad. And I'd just cry. I'd literally just take myself off and just cry, because obviously on holiday, you don't want to wear loads of makeup to cover up and you want to feel pretty. And I just didn't feel beautiful once that holiday. It was our first holiday. That should have been nice. But it just consumed me utterly. But yeah, there's been some amazing opportunities recently, and that was probably something that it was a real pinch me moment. I was like, am I seriously doing this? I'm going to be like a part of this amazing exhibition. It was something that I fell into when I was at my lowest. And through doing what I'm doing, I've sort of like helped myself as well, because I've realised, one, I'm not alone, and two, I can really help people, and I love to help people. So if I can educate people on like acne and help people feel beautiful regardless of their skin condition, then that's something that I love to do.
Welcome to the Life with a Difference podcast, a platform to amplify the voices of those living with a visible difference, and also to provide relevant information from industry leaders and experts.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, well done. You've always got to have the technical issues. It's just always part of it. Are you calling in from the castle?
I am away on holiday. Yeah, I'm in Boscastle.
Nice. I was watching your stories. Looks very fancy.
It is very fancy. My friend works for the company, so we come down. She wanted to come down here and have a look at it, and I was like, "I'll come."
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I bet they're very happy for you to come and look at it with your 50,000 followers.
Well, I didn't say that to them, but
It's really weird talking to someone that I've been following for so long. Like, I've been watching your videos for so long.
Thank you. It's weird. I get people saying to me, like, I'm a hairdresser by trade, and people come into the salon and they're like, "Oh, I've seen your videos," and I'm like, "No way!" Like, that's so weird. But obviously they're going to, but it's funny.
To start, do you mind just introducing yourself and explaining a little bit about your visible difference?
Yeah, no problem. I'm Lexi Jenkinson, and I have suffered with acne for almost 10 years, on and off.
I came across your videos from that super mega viral video that 19 million other people saw.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Lexi, honestly, I felt it to my soul watching that, like to my bones. I think so many people resonated with that. And it's funny how social media works, because you were just literally wandering down the street, chatting to the camera, and so many people were just like, preach. It's the way, the way in which, like the way in which, it's just such a common issue that a lot of us face, in the way that these remarks, these so cutting and painful remarks, are so casually thrown out there, and not with like particular malice, but just with like a thoughtlessness, I guess, and a lack of emotional intelligence. But that must have been like, was that the video that kind of blew you up, I guess? Was it all a bit crazy from that?
So I originally started on TikTok, and I'd been doing it maybe like for a month, and then it happened to me in real life, obviously what I was talking about, and I wasn't going to put it online, and my colleague was like, "You should make a video." And so I made a story on Instagram. I posted it on my story, and then I was like, "Oh, actually, I might just save that video and put it on TikTok." And it did so well on TikTok. I was like, what the hell? That I was like, okay, I'm going to put it on Instagram as well. But yeah, no, it was literally, didn't even think that it was one of those things where I'm literally almost talking to a friend. Like I was on my way to my other job, and I was just like chatting to the camera because I thought it was a funny story. Well, it wasn't funny, but like I thought it was a relevant story. And yeah, so it definitely blew up from around that sort of time, and obviously having a video go that viral definitely helped.
Yeah, for the fact that that was so early on, yeah, I think the part of the reason people maybe resonated with it was because you were so like authentic and you talked so
Yeah,
freely on camera. Like people like you make it look super easy, but it's not. It's really hard
not
just to
really,
just to
no.
talk. It's something about turning a camera on that just makes you act like a whole like you forget how to be a human for some reason.
Yeah,
But you were so yeah open, authentic, and yeah, it was just such an important story. So thank you so much for sharing it. And I think
thank
it was
you.
just it just for me personally, it all these little videos that I see online, they just make me feel not quite as alone and like I'm not the only one experiencing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just yeah, thank you for making it and thank you for all your other work. Like it's awesome seeing everything you're doing and and
Oh,
and
thank
I think
you.
we'll talk about it a bit later, but like, I'm quite curious about the whole like influencer world and what it's like maybe to be sort of um because it can happen quite quickly. It can kind of happen overnight. I've got a friend called Oliver Bromley, and he had like quite a high profile case where all of a sudden he was on BBC News, Sky News, and it must be quite daunting and intimidating. So I think it's good to get advice from people like you for if that happens and kind of maybe some good ways of how to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it did definitely happen. It was a bit of a funny one because it happened overnight. And I remember I posted a few videos and I went on holiday and then I had a phone call from This Morning and they were like, "We want you on This Morning." And I was like,
Oh,
"What? I'm on holiday." Um, so yeah, that was crazy. And then it was like a whirlwind from not just from that. I think a lot of people thought, well, you went on This Morning and then you must have had like inundated with followers and
mm,
people, and that actually didn't happen. I think going on
hmm
This Morning led me to sort of push further and keep making content and sort of because I was like, wow, like it's obviously
yeah,
reached an audience that's like, um, that had helped me and obviously helped others, if that makes sense. So like the audience that I attracted helped me because I was like, wow, I'm not alone. And also I had loads of people say, oh my God, I'm not alone.
hmm
Thank you so much.
hmm
So yeah,
Yeah, I think there's this kind of myth that some people have that um, that with influencers it's quite easy. Like I think because you
yeah,
see the content and it's all finished, it just looks like you're just yeah chatting to the camera. But as you
yeah,
say, like you'll have that viral video, but then you've got to like really work on it and try and keep the momentum going and build it.
yeah,
And it's yeah, there's a lot more to it than people realise. I had a little bit of a similar thing with so I started my advocacy work really early doors, and I'm very not a public speaker. I'm quite an anxious person. A
yeah,
lot of this advocacy work is kind of out of my comfort zone, but I think it's kind of good for me to do that. And I had an email come in from Sanofi, or a pharmaceutical company, and the title was Houses of Parliament speech. And I remember my blood just went cold. I was like, no, please, I can't do that. But luckily, I was on holiday, so I managed to swerve it. But yeah,
Oh, so you should
it's
have done it.
crazy how.
It's amazing. Like these opportunities. So like for me, going on This Morning, I cannot tell you how nervous I was. Like to this day, I can see it. Like, and my mum watched it live and she was like, yeah, I could see it. But everyone else has been like, oh, you looked absolutely fine. I was like shaking. I thought the whole studio was shaking with me. I was like, oh my God, it's the scariest thing I've ever done.
Was it all
The
live
most,
then? The whole recording was
yeah,
live.
it was live and you're so aware. Like people saying, "Oh, you don't see the cameras." You do see the cameras, of course you do. But it was also one of the scariest things I've ever done, but also one of the most amazing things. Like I
Mm.
literally like got off the stage and I was like, "That was amazing." Like
Yeah,
even though I was like shaking the whole time and I was so nervous, like so anxious, I was like, "That was so cool."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It's that feeling afterwards. I imagine that's almost a little bit addictive. I guess that's why people in
yeah,
showbiz love it so much. I'm
yeah,
trying not to be. It's tricky when I'm doing this podcast stuff. I'm trying to like learn how to have good conversations. Right. And one of the things is when someone says something, you can't always just say, "Oh yeah, I relate to that because I did this thing." So I'm trying not to do that too much. But anyway, saying that, I had a little
yeah,
bit of it. I had a
brilliant.
little bit of it. I had a little bit of it, like 10% of what you had, if that. It was like an AGM of a pharma company, and so it was all live, green screens, and it was kind of similar to a Good Morning Britain sort of situation where we were sat down on sofas, and it was actually with my mum and also my wife, kind of talking about our experience growing up. But yeah, same thing. My heart was literally beating
Yeah,
out of my chest, and that was to probably, I don't know, a few thousand people. But as you say, as soon as it's over and everyone's coming around and congratulating you and saying
it's
what a good
amazing,
job
right?
you've done, it feels amazing, doesn't it? So to go back to the acne, just to kind of go over some sort of basic questions for people, because something I've realised from doing the podcast is that there's a lot of what I guess if you're living with the condition seems like really basic information. Like my thing is atopic dermatitis, which always kind of goes up and down.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I just assume that people know, but they don't know because it's just not that they're not exposed to it. So with acne, do we know what the cause of acne is?
So everybody has different causes. Obviously, men and women can get acne, teenagers and adults can get it. That's another thing you can sort of delve down is sort of like everybody has a different cause almost. Like
Hmm.
there's not just one root cause. But I mean, a lot of the time it can be sort of like gut issues or hormonal issues and stuff like that. For me in particular, it swapped at a young age. I sort of started getting acne when I was about 19, 18,
Okay.
19.
Okay.
And so I actually never had it as a teenager or anything like that. It was purely adult acne. And it was to do, in my opinion, this isn't proven, so I can't be like, this is definitely what caused it. But in my opinion, and I've gone through all of my doctor's records and everything like that, mine started when I changed my contraceptive
Oh, interesting.
pill, and
Okay.
basically that was like it spiraled and then became like a different sort of hormonal imbalance
Hmm.
problem. And over the
Okay.
years, I've sort of like been off, on and off, on and off, and I think it's just messed up my own hormones so much that it just has struggled to regulate itself.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. So is that unusual for acne to come on that late? It's normally a teenage thing, is that right?
No, actually, no. So yes, it is normally a teenage thing, but or something that I learned from when I was on this morning, I went on there with a dermatologist, and he told me, and the team that actually, I think it's like 1 in 2 women in their 20s, 1 in 3 women in their 30s, and 1 in 4 women in their 40s get adult acne. So
Wow.
it's actually
Okay.
so much more common than you'd ever expect in adults.
No, yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, being in this world now, I've seen it so much more. I guess you don't really necessarily look for it, do you? Unless you're someone who has it, or you look for other people that sort of you can relate to. But I've seen adult acne so much more than teenage acne, which is
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Is there like in terms of kind of the more severe end of the scale, is it normally adult acne that becomes the more severe, or does it not really matter? It kind of any age range can get it really severely.
No, yeah, I think any age range can get it severely. I mean, it depends, doesn't it? It depends sort of what your root cause is. But I think, yeah, any age range can get it severely, and obviously there's different ways that you can sort of cure it. And I don't know, personally, I think when you're younger, doctors these days will say, "Oh, we'll just put you on this pill instead." And the
Hmm.
problems that you then have is that when that adult decides to come off of that pill, the acne comes back. So a lot of the time, that's why adults get it, because that's the hormonal imbalance for them.
Okay, interesting. I keep seeing more and more stuff about um, not being skeptical is maybe too far, but being a bit more aware of contraception and the pill for women. It seems
Yeah.
like it used to just be the thing, I guess, to a degree. If you were when you kind of got to that age, you went on the pill. But I'm seeing, I don't know if it's my algorithm's full of like health and fitness stuff, and I'm often on my wife's one as well because I help her with her social media, and there's a lot of stuff about like. Um, yeah, being a bit more cautious, and that there's a few question marks.
I think there's a lot more people going down the sort of, I don't know, like I don't want to say like natural route, but I think people are just becoming more aware, aren't they? They're becoming more aware of their health, their gut health, their hormone health, their fitness health in general. And I think that
Yeah,
just sort of falls under that bracket. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely more people are becoming more aware of that whole sort of world.
I'd imagine something that you deal with as well, that in the same way I have to deal with it, is that in maybe the acne world and definitely in the AD and eczema world, there is a huge amount of snake oil salesmen, and they kind of prey on you being desperate and willing to do anything. And it's, that thing pops up on Insta of some, mad potion, but it's 15 quid and you're desperate and you're like, well, it's worth a punt. And so you end up buying it and they add up and add up and add up. And all of a sudden you've, blown 200 quid on stuff that does nothing. That's quite a hard thing to deal with psychologically. Do you have a way that you try and, I guess, filter out the good advice and the bad advice?
I think, don't get me wrong, so where I have gotten rid of acne 3 times. So like I've had it 3 times in my 10 years of having it. And so every time I've got rid of it, I've actually done it in a different way. So the third time that I got it this last time, last year, it was definitely the worst case I'd had of it. And it just got worse and worse and worse. But I became desperate, and it's like all the knowledge I had just sort of went out of my brain, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just try this and I'll try this. And I just overloaded my face with all these different things, all these different methods. I was trying to like eat different things. I was trying to take different supplements, and it was almost like my body just went, "Oh my God, no!" And just like my skin just erupted even worse. Like it wasn't getting any better; it was getting worse. So then, when I found um Hannah, who fixed my skin, she basically like helped me just like chill my brain out and just go, right, the simple, the better. So my advice now, and I do stick to it as well, even if I start getting new breakouts, I almost just like stop everything that I'm doing and just wait. Almost like rely on your body to know what's right to do, if that makes sense. That sounds a little bit corny, but I just mean instead of trying to overload your skin and overload your body with all these right things, actually just take a break and just stop and just
Hmm.
like simplify everything. Like just
Hmm.
honestly, like wash your face and moisturize it. That is it. And then you can start adding back in whatever you want to add back in.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I think that's good advice. You can definitely get bogged down on it for sure. Yeah, when you're really suffering, you just want to throw the kitchen sink at it. And
Yeah.
I found myself in a similar thing where I was adding layer upon layer upon layer to my routine. I'd add something and I'd be like, well, I'm not really sure if that helped, but I won't take the risk, so I'll get rid of it. And all of a sudden, I'm not eating wheat, I'm not eating soy, I'm not having dairy, I'm not enjoying life in any way, shape, or form. But just not take the risk. I'll cut it out. So it's definitely good to go to the simple stuff first and see if that can help you for sure. Did you see that show Apple Cider Vinegar on Netflix?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Oh my God, that
Yeah.
was crazy. Honestly, I was watching that show. I
Yeah.
watched obviously the remake, and then I watched the documentary about her, and it was crazy because that definitely touches on that whole sort of um. I think with any skin condition, there's that whole route. It's like, oh well, if you eat 2 eggs and drink this, you'll be cured, and
Yeah.
that's not the reality, is it? Like, let's be honest. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that really touched on that whole world, didn't it? Where it was that whole sort of just go
Yeah.
clean. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's such a boring answer, but it's the balancing act, isn't it? Of you're not turning away from your normal NHS route, but also not thinking you can cure cancer with fruit juice and coffee or whatever. It's so hard.
yeah.
In terms of the main treatments at the moment, what are the main treatments for severe acne, and what have you found to be particularly helpful?
So I mean, there's obviously lots of different routes. If you go down the NHS, which I have been down, they will prescribe you Accutane if they think that you need it. The waiting list on the NHS, as for anything on the NHS, is so long at the moment. I don't know. I can't even remember how long I waited. I probably waited. I mean, I think I was actually quite lucky, and I think it was maybe like 4 to 5 months, but in some cases, I've heard people waiting like a year and stuff like that, which is obviously very sad when you're going through a condition. Um, the NHS will always just prescribe you, from my experience, they will always just prescribe you either like antibiotics, the pill, or Accutane. Um, there are other routes, which is the route that I took, which is there's this new laser that's been designed called Aerolase, and it basically has like zero downtime. You're not like disrupting the balance of your skin or anything like that. So you can walk out of there and your skin's absolutely fine. You haven't damaged it or burnt it or whatever. I think when people hear laser, they go, "Oh my God, you're lasering your skin." It's like, no, it's just I don't know the science behind it because I'm not someone who uses it, but it is unreal, and that's definitely what saved my skin.
Okay.
I don't know, I had maybe like roughly around 10 to 12 sessions over the course of about a year. And it utterly changed the way my skin behaves. My skin heals quicker. My
Hmm.
skin, obviously healed the acne as well, and that's like
Hmm.
crazy. That's the biggest change for me. And then yeah, obviously you have all your different routes. There's loads on social media about that whole sort of like clean eating supplements and stuff. And I think you can get sucked into that really easily, but I don't know if that's a cure. I mean, I've
Yeah.
tried everything and anything under the sun, and the only thing that helped me was the Aerolase.
Hmm.
And I'm sure Accutane. I don't slate Accutane. I think a lot of people think, oh, she's anti-Accutane. I'm not, but I personally just don't know if it actually gets to the root cause of your acne, which is the same as the Aerolase. Like the Aerolase hasn't gotten to the root cause of my acne; it's just helped me along the way. I'm currently working with a functional nutritionist who has like um taken my blood and looked at all my bloods and my hormones, and I haven't had the meeting with her, but she's gonna basically let me know basically what's going on in my body, right? And why I'm getting acne and why my skin is reacting, because there is something going on, and that's why you get skin conditions and stuff like that. So yeah, there's lots of different routes, but personally for me, the Aerolase is what saved my skin.
It sounds like an annoyingly complicated condition,
Yeah.
in that it's not, yeah, you go to the doctor, I have this, okay, here's the solution, bang, you sorted. It's, yeah, a bit of trial and error. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a friend called Lachlan. He's Australian, and I think Accutane. I don't know if it was coming out then or whatever the deal was, but his mum held him off from having Accutane, which is something she really regrets now. And going into adulthood, he had a bit of acne scarring, and he's just done a couple of procedures. I think he called it like subcision, something like that. There's quite a social media active doctor in Australia called Dr. David Lim, and he does a procedure where he kind of breaks up scar tissue, which he's had really good um, results from. But yeah, as I say, his mum, I think, feels a bit bad for not doing the Accutane route. It
Yeah.
must be so hard for carers. I feel for carers so much because trying to make the right call on that is so much pressure. I don't think people give carers enough credit for having to try and walk that path.
Oh, 100%. I know that like for my mum, and I suppose and my dad, but my mum more, she really struggled, and bless her, she spent hundreds of pounds on supplements and all sorts to just try, because my mum personally didn't want me going down the Accutane route either, just because of the side effects that it can have on your body. And so she was like trying everything in her power to like help me in a different way. And yeah, it was one of those, she just spent hundreds of pounds just trying to find the right supplement and trying to research the right thing. So yeah, it must be hard, because if you care about someone and you're watching them go through like a physical difficulty, and like mentally as well. Like that's got to be really hard to watch, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's a thing at the moment in sort of my community, I guess, it's called TSW. I don't know if you've seen it, topical steroid
Yeah,
withdrawal. So yeah,
that.
people have,
Oh my God.
yeah. So and it's tricky because there's a lot of dermatologists who still deny that it's a thing, and there's not enough sort of hard science at the moment about it. But yeah, it's just kind of a similar situation in that the doctors tell the parents to slather the kids with steroid creams, which they obviously do. They take their advice, understandably. But it seems to be potentially one of those things where the more you use it, the more you need it, and then all of a sudden it gets to a point where it's not even helping anymore. But if you come off it, you have this horrendous sort of withdrawal.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, that must be so tough to see that as a parent. That you know, they must start to think that they've caused that, and obviously they haven't. They're just trying to take the best advice
Yeah.
given to them. But yeah, a lot of pressure to make the right call for sure.
It's really hard because I always think about like I don't have children, but I always sort of think like if I did have a child who had acne, obviously the Aerolase is something that is safe for children as well. But you must think at the same time it's like where do you pinpoint sort of like saying to them no, don't go on contraception and no, don't do like you can't dictate that, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, sure.
quite hard. I suppose you just have to give them the tools to like educate themselves and then make their own decisions.
Yeah, and hope they don't go to the Hirsch Institute from apple cider vinegar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard. You mentioned the NHS a little bit, so and you were saying like the lead times are ridiculous, which is always the story.
Yeah.
Have you found them to be particularly helpful, or have you found them unhelpful?
Um, I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, they're helpful as much as you want them to be. Like I sort of touched on earlier, I went to my dermatologist appointment, and at that time, I'd only had one Aerolase appointment, and I was dead set on sort of seeing that through. I was like, if this works, then I would rather do the Aerolase than go down the Accutane route. So I sort of spoke to the dermatologist about that, and I sort of said to him, look, I'm doing this Aerolase
Mm.
treatment. Do you think like what do you think like what's your advice basically? Because obviously I was new to that at the time as well. And he basically said that he hadn't heard of it and he wouldn't advise it. Um, but then I guess that's not necessarily his fault. If he's never heard of it, then why would he advise something that he's never heard of, you know? Um,
But
and
should he
he
have
just
heard
said,
of it? Do you know what I mean? It's like I hearing that, I find that so
yeah,
frustrating hearing things like that. Like, that's your industry, that's your
I
job.
know.
Why are you not staying up to date with the most current things? It's that I don't understand that.
I do think, though, I don't know about you, but I do think that the NHS there is, I think it's a bit of a difficult one because I think I'm very grateful for the NHS and we should be very
Mm,
grateful that we have that. But at the same time, I do think that it's almost a bit dated. It almost needs a bit of like updating. There are so many amazing things out there right now. So like the Aerolase that yes, I think more and more dermatologists are becoming aware of that, but
hmm.
maybe like more private dermatologists that you have to pay for. But it's like, why shouldn't the NHS have that education as well? They should be educated on these new procedures that obviously do work. Like my skin is like clear. I'm not saying that it's never going to come back because, I still haven't gotten to the root cause, but it's helped me like 100%. So yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it, with the
Mm.
NHS? I just think it's slightly needs updating. I think they just need more education on new things.
Yeah, it takes a while for them to catch up a little bit for sure, which is frustrating. I have a situation with in the AD community. There's kind of about maybe 4 or 5 significant new medications that have come out over the kind of the last 7 years, and these are really groundbreaking medications that are helping a lot of people. But to get hold of them, you have to go to the real specialist. So I have to always go to London, which is a
Yeah,
£100 round trip. Takes me a minimum half a day. Um,
yeah,
because apparently, I need to nail down the information on this, but I think dermatologists have to sort of do retrain to a degree or be across these medications to be in order to be able to prescribe them. Um,
right.
and some of them aren't doing that. And we're not
Yeah,
talking about some like little niche medication here. We're talking about like a massive thing in dermatology. And so to
yeah,
hear that they're not staying up to date, and I'm the same. I don't want to be always slagging off the NHS. It's
nah,
amazing that we have it. We're so lucky that we have it. The medication I have is very expensive, and when that turns up, because it has to be like specially delivered. When that turns up, I almost feel a little bit emotional when they hand me that. I feel so grateful that I live in a country where I
yeah,
get that for free. But there is definitely room for improvement. To quickly throw something out there that I've been meaning to mention on this podcast to people as some kind of practical advice. I think people go with the flow a little bit too much with the NHS in terms of you go to the GP, you have to push for a referral, they'll refer you, but they refer you kind of where they want to refer you, which is normally locally. There's something in the NHS which hopefully some people are aware of called the right to choose, and so you have the right to be referred to where you want to go. And frankly, if you're on the extreme end of the scale, you want to be going to London, you want to be going to Birmingham, you want to be going to Cambridge. So find wherever the big clinic is, because unfortunately there is a difference in care, and make sure you ask to go there. In terms of acne, do you know where? Like, is there like a real specialist centre in the UK that people can go to? Do you know?
I know of. I mean, I haven't come across anything like that. I know that I've spoken to people in the past that have sort of said like if you head up to London, then you get better care and you get better dermatologists up there. But no, I mean, I haven't heard of like a specialist sort of like centre for acne,
Okay. Hmm.
per se.
Yeah, I go to St John's Institute of Dermatology in London. Obviously, it's for something different. It's a guy's hospital, but from my perspective, they're amazing there, and they're all like professors, and they're all very involved in new medications and trials and blah blah blah. So I would imagine they would be good with acne as well. So yeah, I guess if you're not getting any help locally, yeah, that would be my advice, is to um, try and get. And in terms of referring, if they're telling you it's going to be like a year's referral, um, the way to kind of bypass that, and you shouldn't have to do this, but if you're absolutely desperate, um, find a consultant that works on that clinic, book a private appointment. It'll be £200-300, which you shouldn't have to pay. But if you're desperate, beg, borrow, and steal, and then they will potentially see the urgency of the situation, and they will get you in the door, essentially. So just some practical advice for people that unfortunately I've had to use a few times. Talking about school, because school for me was very difficult, but you were saying acne didn't kick in for you until you were sort of 19. So I guess you didn't really affect. Did you go to uni? Did it have an effect there, or?
No, I didn't go to uni actually. But I do work in, I suppose you could say like a beauty industry as a hairdresser. I'm surrounded by mirrors. I'm surrounded by people that are quite glamorous all the time. And it definitely affected me in that sense because obviously you're always under bright lights. You're always surrounded by
Mm,
mirrors. And I think because of that, it sounds weird, but I almost learnt not to look in the mirror. Even though you've got a mirror stood in front of you, I don't know. I just don't, I think I just learned to never look in the mirror, just always look at my client, be like, right, I'm just looking at your hair. But yeah, that was hard because, you're surrounded also by people who, in your eyes, are just like beautiful and like just look perfect all the time. And then yours, and I mean, it's only how you feel, right? But it's how I felt. I just felt just disgusting all the time. No matter how much makeup I put on, no matter how nice my hair was or my outfit, it's all you can think about all the time. Yeah.
it's something that's so difficult to hide, isn't it? When your skin's struggling, it's just, yeah, as you say, it doesn't matter what else you do. I try and wear clothes that I feel comfortable in. I try and go to the gym, blah blah. But if your skin is flaring and struggling, it just doesn't matter. It just takes over everything. Would you say that it's had a really significant psychological effect on you overall?
My God, 100%. I don't think I even really noticed it when it was happening. It was more when I almost came out the other side. I mean, I wouldn't even say that I'm completely out the other side, but I think I'm just more aware of it now. But when I was going through like um, the worst of it, I was just depressed. I just had never left my house. I didn't want to go see anyone. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to see like my family, my boyfriend, or anyone like that because I was just like, I just couldn't cope with it. So then what happened was like a ripple effect. Anything that would maybe I might, slightly be annoyed at became I was so angry at because it was like a way to express how I was feeling. So I don't know, this is just an example. I could have spilt some water on the floor and normally you'd be like, oh, that's annoying. But it became like that was the worst thing I could have possibly done because it was a way to like express how I was feeling inside without
Hmm.
sounding ridiculous. But then obviously you almost sound ridiculous because you're just getting angry at some spilt water. But um, I just found ways of expressing my anger through different sort of ways. And I remember I went on holiday with my boyfriend when it was really, really bad and I'd just cry. I'd literally just take myself off and just cry because obviously on holiday, you don't want to wear loads of makeup to cover up and you want to feel pretty. And I just didn't feel beautiful once that holiday. And it was just one of the hardest times, I think. Um, and which should have been a lovely time. We were on holiday. It was our first holiday. That should have been nice. But it was just it just consumed me utterly. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Mate, I swear this podcast is like therapy for me hearing this stuff. It's crazy how I don't know. You think you're on your own, and everyone I talk to is exactly the same. I totally relate to that. You become like a walking tinder box, don't you? Because you're so wound up, you're so stressed, you're so angry as well, just annoyed at the situation that the smallest little spark and you just blow up. I totally relate to that. And yeah, same as the holiday thing. That's the time when everything's supposed to look perfect, and you're supposed to put your photos up on Instagram and just look how amazing and perfect my life is, and you're denied that. And something that I hate about it is that you're denied the carefreeness that you're supposed to have with being young. When you're young, you're supposed to just have fun. You're supposed to just enjoy yourself. You're supposed to just be able to wake up and not worry. And obviously, everyone's got their worries and their anxieties. And so yeah, it robs you of that. I think that we're in a similar boat as well in that eczema, along with acne, is so common, but the mild version is so common that people think they can empathize and understand. And I think that's a little bit why we get dismissed sometimes. You say, oh, I've got eczema, and they're like, oh, yeah, I know what that is, a little bit of a rash on your arm, sort of thing. So you've got no idea, mate. And it's probably the
Yeah,
same with acne.
yeah,
A lot of people get acne growing up and going through school,
yeah.
but we're not talking about that version. We're talking about the extreme version and the insanely profound psychological effects and scars that can leave. And so I don't know if you're the same, but yeah, I feel quite dismissed sometimes. And yeah, did you feel the same in that sense?
I think that people, and I think I come to realize that people couldn't possibly comprehend what you're going through if they've never been through it. And also, you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy either, would you? Because at the end of the day, that mental toll that you then carry, I think for the rest of your life is something is just a weight, isn't it, that you have to carry. But yeah, I think ultimately people just they couldn't possibly understand. If they've never had it, they can't understand. And it's one of those, I definitely kind of have to just laugh it off now. And I do have like my friends sometimes say to me, they're like, oh, my skin's so bad at the moment. And then they sort of say, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it like that. And I just go, it's fine. Like, because that is their version of my skin's so bad at the moment. So, it would be nice if that was mine too, but it's not. So, it's one of those, isn't it? Yeah, then they're never going to be able to comprehend what you're going through. But I do think there has been times for me where I've been so frustrated when people have been like, it's fine, like you're fine. It's like, it's not fine. And don't tell me that I'm fine because you don't know. So
Hmm. Hmm.
there has been times where I've not been able to lash it off, and there has been times where it's been really distressing, um, not having someone that understands what you're going
Hmm.
through.
And you don't want your friends to be sort of tiptoeing around you all the time as well and being worried of offending you. But at the same time, yeah, there is kind of a line that shouldn't be crossed. It's the same with just general strangers in terms of making malicious comments, or not, sort of unmalicious comments, but that are quite hurtful. You don't want to come across as this overly sensitive, dramatic person, but at the same time, it flipping hurts when someone says something, makes a comment about it, or and it's often done so casually and flippantly, but it can really sting. Do you have like an example of a time where you have been kind of treated poorly? I guess a good example is your one that got 19 million views, which was just amazing, and I think a lot of people resonated with.
I think that's probably one of the best examples because ultimately it was just a client that I'd been doing for so long. I've cut
Hmm.
her hair, for the past couple of years. And it wasn't like my acne just suddenly appeared. Like I had acne probably the whole time I cut her hair, but I think it was probably at its worst this time that she like mentioned it or noticed it to say. But she walked in and before even sitting in my chair, she was like, "Oh my God, what is wrong with you?" I was like, but you just know, like, I just knew immediately. She didn't have to say, "What's wrong with your face?" She didn't say, "Oh my God, look at all your spots." She just said, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "What? My acne? Yeah, thank you very much." And it was then the problem that I then had, or not the problem I had, the problem I had to face was that I then had to cut her hair. I had to I had to have her sat in my chair for an hour
Yeah.
and try and make conversation, but all she wanted to talk about was my skin. And then from going from like, in the morning covering it all up to try and ignore it all day to then literally it being pointed at you and being like, what is wrong with you?
Mm.
That was that then. The rest of the day was ruined because it was all I could think about. Um, and yeah, it happened a few times. That wasn't the only time that happened. It did
Hmm.
happen a few times.
I mean, you're talking
Um,
about the thing that your biggest insecurity, understandably, is something that from speaking for myself, something that I'm absolutely mortified with. I couldn't be more embarrassed. I couldn't be more anxious, and like just every bit of me is tense. And so then when you get that comment, it is just so crushing. It's one of the. It's weird how it I don't know. People wouldn't say that to so many other conditions and so many other things that people are dealing with, but for some reason they think it's acceptable just to openly talk about it in public. It's really strange.
it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I'd never really thought about it that way. But I suppose if someone, I don't know, for example, didn't have a leg, I don't think someone would be as ballsy to be like, "Oh my God, what happened to your leg?" I mean,
Yeah,
maybe if you knew the person, but like if you
yeah,
didn't know the person very well, that's quite a bold statement to make. But you're definitely right. Like people, when it comes to skin, people are very much like, why there's not a barrier there to sort of ask. I don't know if maybe it's a generational thing because I've only had it from um like the older generation, like middle-aged sort of women. So like women in their 50s, um 60s, sort of that around that age where maybe that just wasn't, I don't know. I don't know. It was like maybe just not taught to not say those things. I really don't know, but it is interesting.
yeah. I just think it's almost like that thing you have as a toddler where it's like, what's wrong with you? Like some people just don't
Yeah,
seem to lose that. Like, I guess it just comes down to a basic thing of think before you speak and have real empathy. Is someone going to like you saying to them, what's wrong with your face or what's happened to you? Like, let's think about that for a second and how
yeah,
that would make you feel. There's an actor called Robert Rhodes, and he's in the visible difference community, and he did it was like a spoken word sort of poem for um, Face Equality International, and one of the lines in it was, "You speak to me." I'm going to butcher this as well. You speak to me about my face as if it's not connected to my heart, and I think that's really powerful.
yeah. That is
Like
very
you're
powerful.
you're speaking about the most emotive part of your body. It's not, you're not talking about, you've got an injury on your leg or whatever. You're talking about your face. Like that situation needs to be dealt with so much more kindness and so much more tactfully than some people do. And I feel like it's almost, you can't. There's certain things where people said that in public, something like that, something that nasty. You're very much entitled to really give it them back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
someone took the mick out of someone in a wheelchair or something like that, everyone around you would expect you to really, give them it with both barrels. But I feel like we have to kind of measure our response, and we're worried about being coming across too dramatic, and we don't want to hit back too much. So when that happens nowadays, how do you deal with it nowadays? Do you just try and calmly educate them as best you can?
yeah. I suppose, and I suppose I kind of always have in the best way that I can. It's one of those. It's a curiosity, isn't it? People are curious. They want to know what's wrong with your face, I suppose. Um, and so I guess you just have to, yeah, like you say, just educate them on on their curiosity, because at the end of the day, the more people that understand it, the more people that you'll have advocate for people like us. Do you know what I mean? By explaining to the lady who sort of said that to me, what was going on and why I had it, and she was asking me all sorts, does it hurt and stuff like that. she may then see someone else with acne one day and be like, I'm really sorry you have this condition. I hope
Yeah,
you're okay, rather than
yeah.
being, what's on your face? So I guess, yeah, you go through and you educate them in hopes that in the future they have a different response.
Yeah, I guess that's a burden we have to take, I suppose, and you've got to try and think of it for the next person, yeah. And maybe it helps sort of stepping into advocacy. You kind of think of it as more of your job, okay, so that happens,
Yeah.
you're like, right, here we go, work time, and then you
Yeah.
you sort of
Yeah.
get to work and you save the next person. Yeah, that's quite a good way to look at it. How have you found stepping into advocacy? Have you has it been a nice experience? Do you do it full time now?
No, so I am also I'm a full-time hairdresser at the same time. I would love to do it full time. That is the dream. I think it it's one of those it was something that I fell into when I was at my lowest. I've by through doing what I'm doing, I've sort of like helped myself as well because I've realized one, I'm not alone, and two, I can really help people and I love to help people, even cutting hair, essentially you're making people feel beautiful, right? So if I can educate people on like acne and help people feel beautiful regardless of their skin condition, then that's something that I love to do and I really, really do love that sort of part of it, just making people aware that just because you may look in the mirror and you may not feel beautiful doesn't mean that someone else is looking at you and not thinking, wow, that person is stunning, like I don't know, have you ever had it where you're sort of walking down the street and I get it all the time. I'm like, that person is really beautiful, but I never like really intricately look at their skin and sort of think, oh, do they have a spot on there? Like I just look at the whole person, right? And I think it's really important to realize that just because it can be anything. It could be your weight, it could be your hair, like it could be anything. Just because you don't like it, it doesn't mean that someone else out there isn't thinking that person is so cool. I'd love to be like her. So yeah, absolutely love the work that I've sort of fell into. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I hope you know how important it is. Like when I was growing up, if I'd had someone like you to look at on Instagram, or maybe a few people of these influencers, just living their life and going through the ups and downs, that would have helped me massively. So yeah, I hope you know that it's really, really important work, and you're so good and so natural at it. You picked it up very, very quickly, a lot quicker than I would do, that's for sure. So yeah, I definitely hope you can do it full time, because I think it's really important work, and the world needs it for sure. Sorry to kind of put a negative on this, but I've noticed that you, as with everything on social media, you do get the trolls sometimes. I think it's
Yeah.
important for people who are stepping into advocacy or anything like any kind of work like that, that it's going to happen. When I see them, there's a dark part of me that wants to hunt them down and get the pitchfork out, and that's just reading them on yours. So
Yeah.
how do you deal with it? Do you just block them straight away? Is there a way you deal with it?
Do you know, I go through phases. There has been times when a certain comment has really hit a nerve, and all I want to do is scream at that person and just be like, you don't like, yeah, whatever, all the bad words. But then I would say probably like maybe 70% of the time, I look at it from a statistic sort of insight in terms of like the more it sounds so bad, but the more trolls comment, the more people that are gonna comment. I'm like, you comment away, you're just pushing my videos out there and pushing it into the algorithm. And it's really hard. I do think you need thick skin. I know that. So, like for instance, my mum reads all of my Instagram and my TikTok, and
Well, that must be
she
hard.
struggles with that,
Hmm.
and she has. I've told her if you ever comment, I'm gonna block you. So she can't. Um, but she really struggles, and she rings me up sometimes, and she's like, "Oh, how are you dealing with this? This is just horrific." And I remember when my skin was really, really bad, I'd get some horrific comments, like really horrific. Um, but I think yeah, I don't know. For a long time I stopped reading them. When I
Mm.
was going through really bad acne, I just didn't even read them, and I knew that they were there, but I just wouldn't even engage with it. and the sad part of that is because I didn't read them, I also missed out on a lot of lovely comments. But yeah, I think when it was really kicking off, especially on Instagram, actually, Instagram became a really nasty place. I just stopped reading them completely. I was just like, no, don't read them. But now I definitely think you grow thick skin. You grow skin and you just go, yeah, you comment away because you're pushing my video out there. So thank you very much. Um, no, it's one of those, isn't it? You're never going to be someone's cup of tea. And I also look at trolls and people in real life that are nasty, and I just think I could never be like that, but I'm happy in my life.
Mhm.
And I wonder, you have to wonder what's going on in the inside or at home or behind closed doors. Like, are they miserable? Do they have a sad life? Are they trying to look for an outlet? When I get angry at spilt water, that was because I was angry because I've had bad skin. These people are just angry, and for whatever reason, they choose to take it out on strangers on the internet. But I
Mhm.
don't know them, and they don't know me.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Like, don't downplay the strength that it takes though. Like that, you're putting out there to the world probably the thing you're most insecure about, and so to get those comments, it takes some real strength to be able to see past them and to not hit the roof and hire a hitman or whatever. Do they ever DM you?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. There has been people that I have blocked. Obviously when it's getting out of hand, there's the block button for a reason. But yeah, no, I get DMs. I've had awful things said to me, and there's things, and I've deleted comments as well in the past because I also don't want other people to see that and think that that's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like I have a young sort of female audience, and I don't
Mhm.
want these
Mm.
women seeing that having bad skin makes you unlovable or all sorts.
It's to them, a lot of them, it's probably a nice safe space for them. They're struggling themselves, and they get to come onto your social medias and
Yeah,
interact with you and interact with your videos, and it's probably a nice little bubble. And you don't want someone bursting that bubble by being a complete scumbag. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's. I think you're in similar with my condition as well, in that um, everyone's got a solution, everyone's got advice, and it
yeah,
is infuriating. So, can I just put this out there now to the world? No one's more expert on this situation than we are. We live with
yeah,
it. We are desperate for a cure. We're the one trawling through Google constantly,
yeah.
doing everything and anything. So, thank you for your advice. I know a lot of the time it comes from, a good place. I think sometimes people just want to impart their wisdom on you a little bit, which is annoying as well. But we're okay, thank you. We're dealing with it. Do you get that
Okay.
all the time as well?
Do you know what? Weirdly, I actually think that's probably one of the things that infuriates me more now. Obviously, I do get hate comments, but the comments more that infuriate me are the ones that are like, drink more water. Oh, okay. Like, brilliant. Thank you. Like, that's,
Mm,
that's a cure.
mm,
Um, and I find making light of, I think my coping mechanism is definitely making light of a situation. So I will make these point of view videos where it's things that I had said to me, and I did a story the other day and loads of people messaged me about things they've had said to them, and I find it I think I would have found it infuriating, or I used to find it infuriating, and now I just find it hilarious because I'm just like, are you for real? Like, you think drinking more waters? And I've had this guy, it was so funny. I posted that point of view video, and it was like drink more water, and then this like guy in his 70s, I'm pretty sure, commented on my video, and he was like, oh, you should drink filtered water, and I was like, oh my God. This is exactly why I posted that video.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
I saw
yeah,
that. I saw that video. That was good. I
yeah, it was
very
a
much
funny
enjoyed
one.
that video. I saw
Yeah,
your story comment box where it's saying some of the crazy ones you've been suggested, and I
yeah.
don't know if you saw it, but genuinely, I had someone give me like a 20-minute deadpan conversation about the benefits of drinking your wee, and like they were they
I
were
get that all the
they were so
time. What is that? Why are people
that
obsessed with this?
that thing that your body has, through millions of years of evolution, has designed to get out of your body.
Yeah,
Drinking it makes it okay, right? I'm good, thank
honestly,
you. But
honestly
yeah,
bizarre.
and it almost falls into a little bit of victim blaming sometimes, in that it's almost like well, of course you're suffering because you've not drunk enough water or you've not done
Yeah.
this basic thing, and it does feel like victim blaming sometimes.
Think that's probably why it infuriates me the most because it's like I didn't choose to have this, and if drinking water cured it, don't you think I would have done that? Like, thank you very much, but it's not that simple.
Yeah, yeah. My mum was telling me the other day a story of when I was really young and I was still in a buggy, and she was at the Tesco checkout, and the lady on the till said, "You want to get some sun cream on that boy? He's really burnt." And she was like, "Andrew, can you go and sit over there?" And she
Yeah.
kind of, gave her it back. But there's another thing with people where they almost get like a power kick out of telling people off, but
Yeah.
doing it in a way they feel morally justified to do so. It's like, oh, I'm only being an asshole because I'm trying to, put the bad person in their
Yeah.
place. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
People
that's
get really
frustrating.
annoyed as well. Like I get all the time. I get people annoyed with me for not taking their advice. They're like, why aren't you replying to me? Why haven't you done this yet?" And it's like,
Oh my God.
sorry, I don't owe you anything.
Mm.
I don't owe you an explanation to why I haven't drank an extra liter of water. Like, how do you know I haven't done it? It's yeah, infuriating.
Do you have any sort of just any general practical advice for people if they are looking to step into advocacy, or they do happen to get that random viral reel that just goes crazy for some reason, and they step into that world? Do you have any practical advice for those people?
Think like obviously I'm still so new to it, but there's something that I used to hear all the time, which was like just stay true to yourself. And I used to be like, yeah, like, of course, like, but I think why people say that now is because that is exactly what I'm going to say. But I used to like that used to me, I used to be like, oh, that's not very good advice. Like, obviously, I'm going to do that. But I think why people say it is because it's really, really easy to start comparing yourself to other creators, to start comparing yourself to other people that are doing really well. And so you almost feel like you want to mimic that success. And you're like, well, maybe I'm not good enough and maybe I'm not doing what I should be doing and I should be doing that because that seems to work great, right? But I think what you forget is that people have been doing it years. Like some of these creators have been doing it 10 years or like, years and years and years and have built up this following over a really long period of time. And success can happen overnight and it has happened overnight for some creators, but it doesn't happen overnight for everyone. And there is something to be said about like really, really hard work. Um, sorry. And I think repetition is probably the best thing. So, keep doing what you're doing. And if you enjoy it, then you enjoy it. So you might as well do it
Yeah,
anytime.
no, that's really good advice. If I was gonna give a little bit of advice, and I'm nowhere near Lexi's level. I'm working towards being Lexi's level, but there's a little bit of I think a conversation or insecurity, I guess, within this world of whether it's visible difference in general, I guess advocacy over taking paid gigs. In my opinion, take the money. Take the money. Because a lot of this work is for free. I'm doing this podcast. That camera's £1,000. This microphone's 350 quid. That light's whatever. There's a lot of this work is for free. And so if you can get those paid gigs, whether it's through pharma companies or brands or whatever, to then keep you doing this advocacy work, which is good, important work, don't have any guilt. Take the money. Pharma companies earn enough, it's all good. And that invoice might come in and it might seem like a reasonable amount of money, and you think, oh wow, that's a lot for my time. But then average it out over all the work you're doing for free. And yeah, don't feel guilty, I guess. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, and in the beginning, it was really interesting. I was getting sort of these opportunities, and it was almost like I, I think you get bogged down in the like, oh, should I? Should I do that? I don't really know if that's the right thing to do. Like, should I be promoting this? Should I not be promoting this? But actually, I do kind of agree with you. I do think like a lot of it, if you want to be successful, then there are things that you need to pay for. Like I'm obviously talking to you on quite an expensive phone that I, have to then record on and all sorts. So like you say, like with your mic and everything, like, there are things that don't come free that you need to be able to work and to be able to create the content that you want to create. So yeah, I mean, take if if you want to take the paid gigs or whatever it is, do it. I mean, there has been things that I've turned down. I've had like opportunities to promote sort of like these tanning tablets, and I was like, no, because I would never use that. So I definitely try and only promote things that I would use by companies that I do trust. Um, because I think there is a lot of stuff out there. Like there's a lot that I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, actually, yeah. So it's a difficult one. You kind of have to weigh up where you want to be and what you want to
Yeah,
be.
totally. Yeah. I'm definitely not saying um, push cryptocurrencies or whatever. As
No,
long as
yeah,
as long as you're happy with it
yeah, yeah,
morally.
yeah.
But yeah, don't feel guilty getting paid gigs. Some people,
100%,
yeah, like
100%.
when I first started, when I first started, not to be all like, oh wow, how great am I? I said like they offered me money, and I said, oh no, it's okay, I'll work for free. And they
Yeah,
said,
I
the
can do
pharma
that.
company said, yeah, it's literally easier for us to pay you and
Yeah,
disclose that we're paying you than the other way around. And so it's like, oh,
yeah,
okay, so yeah, as long as it
100%.
lines up with you morally,
Yeah.
go for it. Yeah, why not? You're offering a service.
At the end of the day, nothing is free in this world, is it? So if you
Mm.
can get paid to do something that you enjoy doing and they're offering you
And
money,
helping
then
people.
take the money.
You've been working on so many projects. It's been awesome seeing because I saw that, as I say, I keep going back to this video. I saw that viral video, and all of a sudden you were, doing great things. Going all over the world. You were in London for a while filming and stuff like that. Do you mind talking about some of the projects you've been working on?
Yeah, I don't know if I can, but I will say in as little or
Exclusive.
as many words. Um, I was recently in London for a photo shoot that it's going to be a massive art exhibition in London. I can't say who the brand is, but it's going to be a beautiful skin series. So it highlights all sorts. So it highlighted acne, eczema, lots of different sort of variations of skin. So that was so exciting. That was really, really exciting. Um, and yeah, there's been loads of amazing projects. I think this is the thing when you are sort of opened up to this word. Like I didn't know this word existed. Like I saw it on Instagram, but I was like, it's so far out of my reach. And I also now realize that actually, if you really, really want something, it's not that far. Like you can go and get it. And it is hard work. Like I work full time and then come home and work. But if you really want something, you got to work for it. But yeah, there's been some amazing opportunities recently, and that was probably something that um, it was a real pinch me moment. I was
Hmm.
like, am I seriously doing this? I'm going to be like a part of this amazing
That sounds
exhibition.
awesome.
Yeah.
You can get tickets, let me know because I'll if like the opening night or whatever because I'll
Yeah,
be there.
yeah, yeah.
That sounds great. That sounds like a really good
Yeah, it's
project.
really, really cool.
And like as you were saying, genuinely, this is sounds so much more simple than it actually is. You're one viral video away from your life
Yeah,
absolutely changing, and
yeah,
the social media algorithms are bizarre. Like my wife got a one that did 10 million views. We were literally sat on the sofa with our Mackie D's on Saturday night, and we're like, "Oh, we haven't got a reel for tonight." We only did a template, banged it in there for whatever reason. That was the
it just,
one. But I've had
yeah.
ones that I've poured over for hours and they've done
Oh,
absolutely
yeah,
nothing. So just keep rolling that dice because you are one
yeah.
viral video
I
away.
think there's a good balance between, I think there are videos that do really well when I work really hard on them, and there are videos that do really well when I don't work really hard on them. But I
Hmm.
think the balance is sometimes working really hard and sometimes not working so hard. So always have that balance. Yeah.
Yeah, don't. It's hard to not get into the mindset of just churning them out, isn't it? And just I
Yeah.
need to do a reel every single day, and then the quality drops. It's difficult. Just to finish up, what is something that you're hopeful for in the future, whether that's for your own personal advocacy or maybe new acne medication, or yeah, what are you hopeful for in the future?
Probably a couple of things. I think my biggest thing would be I really hope that the Aerolase technology is more widely spread. I know that a lot more dermatologists in London are now sort of what's the word, sort of being educated on it, and around Europe as well. But it's definitely I am so lucky to have been able to receive that because it's really rare. Like it's not everywhere. Aerolase
Hmm.
is a very rare um technology. But I suppose number one would be that becomes more widely spread and becomes recognized as a potential sort of like topical acne medication, as you were. And then the second one, I guess I would just love, we are starting to see it. We definitely are starting to see more real skin in commercials, in magazines, in, on social media. That is becoming a more of like a thing. But I do still think there's this underlying like bubbling sense of like, oh, it's not polished enough. It's not. Whereas I think that needs to be chipped away at, and I think we need to sort of make it so that it's 50-50. Like there are probably 50% of the people in the world that have some sort of condition and have a skin condition or something. And I just think it would be nice to be more 50-50 about it over social media, over the media in general, because this generation and the generations to come are so solely media based. So I think it just needs a wider spread.
Mhm.
Um, what's the right word? Sort of like appreciation, I suppose.
I'm a campaigner for Changing Faces. I don't know if you've heard of Changing Faces. They're a
Yeah,
Visible Difference charity, and they've got a campaign at the moment called Face for Radio, and it's essentially all that about getting people
yeah,
into the mainstream media with a visible difference. If you ever want to get in touch with Changing Faces, I bet they'd be delighted to have you because they're awesome. They do what they do so much good work. It's been awesome.
yeah,
I went to a media training day a couple of weeks ago, and it was just so lovely walking into a room of new people and not having to feel anxious at all about the way I
yeah.
looked. It was lovely. But yeah, they're doing great stuff. Um, Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I wasn't sure if you were um, too much of a big cheese for my little podcast, so thank you so
No,
so thank you so
no,
much for your time. Honestly, that video is so important. I think it just resonated with everyone. It's such an important message to get out there. And thank
yeah.
you so much for all the work you're doing.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I never think you're too much of a small fish. Everyone's a big fish. I want everyone to be as big as everyone. Honestly, it's been so nice chatting to you.